No.
Tracy.
Tracy is the slide technician. Well, anyways, while she's pulling that up, I just want to say hello to everyone. Annie bonjour. My name is Doris, and I want to thank you for registering for this webinar. We welcome you all to today's Fireside Chats virtual session with a focus on the Visioning Health National Study titled, Do I Look Taller? I Feel Taller. This session will be about meaningful engagement of women in research that grows our community. Do we have the slides up?
Sorry, technical difficulties.
Is this me do this? I have to do this?
What's that?
Is it me that has to do this?
No, it's me. It's
Oh,
it's me. There we go. That's what I wanted.
okay.
My apologies. I just had it up and I lost it. So
Okay.
give me a moment.
So Tracy and I share a brain.
Yeah.
which clearly is not adequate at the moment, Doris.
Yeah, it's not working today, I guess.
No. There we go. There we go. Can you see that?
Oh.
So just stand by, folks.
Okay.
Can you not see that?
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, we can see that. Yay. All right.
Good job, Tracy.
So this is our title slide. Can we go to slide 2?
I think so.
Yep. Oops.
Okay, I'd like to acknowledge all the territories that everybody's on right now, all the Indigenous territories across the country, and acknowledge them. I'm in Haudenosaunee territory here in Montreal. And I'd like to call upon Wanda, our national knowledge keeper, to do an opening prayer for us. Wanda?
Oh, well, bonjour. My name is Dancing Star. I come from the Bear Clan, and I'm a member of the Mi'kmaq First Nation, and the territory I come from is at a place called the Button Deck. I'm on the territories of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of Credit. Creator, I give you thanks for today and for another breath of life. Creator, I give you thanks for this opportunity for all of us to gather, even though we're not in the same room, we're in the same mind. Creator, open our minds and hearts, courage, and give us the courage to say the things we want to say and share, that we can create safer places for our women. So we say, "May grach ni kanakana, all my lessons taho."
Oh,
Hey.
miigwech, Wanda. And if I could call upon Liz to acknowledge the VH women that we have lost.
Sure. I like to acknowledge the women that have gone before us, and to remember that this is not, it's been a challenge, it's been a fight, but we have each other and we stay strong together, and we just keep them in our hearts and in our bundles and in our prayers.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. So we just have some acknowledgements here. We want to acknowledge our funders, CIHR, the Ontario HIV Treatment Network, and the CTN, the Clinical Trials Network, for graciously funding our study. We also want to acknowledge the Women's Council of Visioning Health, all our knowledge keepers, our cadre of knowledge keepers across the country in the different sites. And we also want to acknowledge the community research coordinators and all the peer mentors that we have across the country. These are all the women, these are HIV-positive Indigenous women that stepped into these roles for visioning health, and we want to acknowledge all of them. We also want to acknowledge all our community partners across the country, and they're all listed there. And lastly, I want to acknowledge the research team of Visioning Health. Next slide. So I just want to give you a quick overview of our presentation. This is the overview of what we'll be chatting about today with all of you. But we're hoping to take a slightly different approach today as well. Today from your standard webinar, and we hope to call upon some of the Visioning Health women that are registered for today's session. We will call upon them later on in this session, acknowledge them, and hopefully engage them in the chat further on. No pressure, ladies from Visioning Health that are on the call today. And at the end, we will open up the session for Q&A from all of you that are attending this webinar today. Next slide. So these are the lovely presenters for today, and we're going to meet them all shortly. And if I could ask each of the presenters to tell us your name, including your spirit name, if you have one, and your role in Visioning Health too, and where you come from in terms of your nation, etc. And if you want to tell us a little bit about if you have a family, that would be great. Whatever you want to share at this time. Remember, you're going to be introducing yourself in much more detail later on. Okay, thank you very much. So can we start with, next slide, Lindsay.
Hello. My name is Lindsay McDonald, Lindsay Faith McDonald. I'm from Onion Lake Cree Nation in Saskatchewan, but I've been living in Alberta for the past almost 10 years before I moved here in December. 38 years old. I'm Cree First Nation. I have 5 children, 1 daughter, 4 sons, and 1 grandson. And yeah, I'm from the Alberta site, Visioning Health site.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Welcome.
Liz?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Liz. Let's start with my spirit name. My spirit name is Winter Moon, and I identify as OG3, though I don't really know my history because I don't have family left. I just have my daughter, my granddaughter. Everybody else has passed. I'm from the Peterborough, Curve Lake area and live in Toronto currently. So I first met up with Visioning Health going to Thunder Bay, and then later in Toronto with a different arm of Visioning Health, I guess. So that's about it, I think.
Okay, thank you, Liz. And Wanda?
Oh, I have to unmute myself.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Wanda Whitebird. I'm the National Knowledge Keeper for Visioning Health 2. And we're going to talk about what that means. I live in Toronto. I have family in Nova Scotia, a son and a daughter who work for, what's the name of that? Healing Our Nations. Yeah, so thanks for joining us, and thank you for all hearing our voices. Miigwech.
Oh. And Tracy? You have to unmute, Tracy.
So much for being a moderator. Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. My name is Tracy. I am a settler from Northern Ontario, and I have lived, worked, and played in Algonquin territory. We call Ottawa for well over 30 years now. My folks are from the UK and from France, but we've been here on Turtle Island for quite some time now. I'm part of the leadership team for Visioning Health 2 and part of the national team, and I am very happy to be here.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Next slide. With my mug on it. Hi, everybody. I think a lot of people know me, but for those of you that don't know me, my name is Doris. I just gave my spirit name as well. And I'm the national coordinator for Visioning Health. And I'm really happy to be here with all of you today. And I hope that you're going to really like our presentation. We're going to try and make it as interactive as we can. Miigwech.
Hi, Doris.
Oh, miigwech. Next slide. Why Visioning Health? Why did we conceptualize this research project over a decade ago? We're going to begin there. Next slide.
Uh-oh.
So this slide speaks for itself. This was the research narrative that was out there about Indigenous women living with HIV when we started out on the Visioning Health research journey way back in 2008. And at that time, what we knew in 2008 about HIV-positive Indigenous women was that Indigenous women were recognized as a priority population. There was a lack of culturally informed, gender-specific HIV care, treatment, and support focus. And that was from a report from CAN in 2004. And there was also a predominance of pathogenic illness research. And there was little information on what it means to be healthy in the context of living with HIV for Indigenous women. So in our little meeting, we had a couple of meetings to prepare for today's webinar. And in our last meeting, we went through all the slide deck. And one of my co-presenters, well, actually two of my co-presenters, when they saw the slide and heard the explanation behind it, one of my co-presenters, Liz, would like to speak to this slide in terms of that she found it kind of a disturbing slide. Liz?
Yep. I, excuse me, just sitting here looking at it now, it's been up like since I saw it and thought about it. I find it so disturbing. It's so toxic that all of these things are so there's just brings so much poison and anger and just, you know, just hope. And for me, it just resembles and reminds me constantly of what I came from, because yes, I can identify with all these things, but it's not the whole of me. It's not my whole, it doesn't embody my whole soul. So I think that it's just, it's taken me like 30 years to get past this kind of, you know, so, and if it wasn't for you guys, I still would be stuck right there. So yeah, it's really toxic, and I just have to say with a little bit of care and consideration, and I mean, it's not even the gender specific stuff. That itself is enough, but all of this other stuff, when you're just prejudged and the stigma, it's just wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liz. Lindsay,
Thank
did you
you.
want to say? Did you want to say something about this slide?
I just, you know, a lot of these words on this slide, I've been called also, but I know that I'm not. So I try not to think about this type of stuff, these type of words, because this type of thinking, all these words here, is what took me to the bottom. And I took a long time. It took me a long time not to focus on these words, because I know this is not me. And I know there's more to me than this that people don't know, you know. But I can't say how I am. I can just show how I am. So to me, there's no words that can, or I don't think they'll ever be able to define me.
Mhm. Thank you, Lindsay. Oh,
You're welcome.
next slide, Tracy. And you're on.
This is me. So this is just a slide that reminds us a little bit about why we do the research the way that we do. So Visioning Health is a research project, obviously, and as such, we had particular ideas about, you know, sort of what we hoped might come out of the project. So what we call outcomes, those are always important, but for us, it was the process that was the most important. And so, you know, this quote by Cochrane, the way that we do research is as critical to eliminating health disparities as, and maybe even more so in many cases, as the knowledge that is gained at the other end, the particular outcomes. And this was a real guiding principle for us. So we always came back whenever we got stuck or whenever we thought, things aren't going maybe the way that we thought they might, we would stop and we would go back to the process. Are we doing things in a good way? We'd always ask ourselves that question. Are we doing things in a good way? And that's really what this slide is about, what this quote is about, and you know, really what Visioning Health is about. It's the way we do the research that is important for us, and that we have learned, you know, in our engagement with the women, that is also important for the women. It's not so much, you know, what comes out of the research around our research questions, it's the process of engaging that that is really important for us. And I think that's all I really wanted to say about that slide.
Okay. So a little background on Visioning Health. So Visioning Health emerged from a pilot study, a PhD study actually, with Tracy Prentice, and it was called Visioning Health. And a bit more about Visioning Health too afterwards. So it emerged from this pilot study that had a focus on health, culture, and gender. And our first small research project had a very small sample size of 13 women that participated, and in 3 sites. And so the findings, our time with those 3 groups of women, some of the research findings told us that, you know, when attention is paid to the way you do research, that research can be healing for Indigenous women. And so these are some of the pieces that we employed in our engagement with the women. The meaningful engagement and involvement of women living with HIV and AIDS. That's one of the kind of the foundational principles in terms of engaging with people living with HIV. And some of you may also have heard about the JIPA principle. So all of that was employed, and our entry point in doing this research was really going in on a strengths-based kind of platform to engage women, and also employing Indigenous knowledges. And Wanda's going to be talking a little bit about that further on, culture and ceremony. That's also on this list. And when we finished Visioning Health 1, there was a request from the women, because they had they were so impacted by their experience with that small little research project we now call Visioning Health 1, and they wanted this to be delivered to other women, and they also asked us to do this as a national study. And And there was also a decision at that time when we decided to do a national study that we would include measurements so that we could collect evidence on the impact of visioning health for HIV-positive Indigenous women, my peers. So next slide. And Tracy?
So coming out of Visioning Health 1, as Doris mentioned, we were asked to develop another study, Visioning Health 2, that really had two goals. So it was meant to sort of build on the questions of Visioning Health 1, which were around what does it mean to be healthy as an HIV-positive Indigenous woman? What kinds of things create health for you or help you to be healthy? What is the role of culture in supporting your health, and what is the role of gender? So how does being a woman help you be healthy or not? So those were the questions of Visioning Health 1. And in Visioning Health 2, we carried that through. So that was one of our goals, was to sort of build on this knowledge base with up to 90 women across Canada. But our other goal, and this one came directly from the women, was to explicitly measure and assess the Visioning Health model. So what we do as a Visioning Health research project to try to track change over time. Does it create change, or does it facilitate change for the Visioning Health co-researchers who engage with us? And if it does, what does that change look like, and is it sustainable? So if there is a change, is it sustainable over time? And so those were the two specific goals of Visioning Health 2. And the other thing that they asked us to do was really to ramp up the engagement of Indigenous women living with HIV. So the JIPA principle, right? In Visioning Health 1, we engaged with Indigenous women living with HIV as co-researchers, but in Visioning Health 2, we went back to those women, those 13 women, and we asked them to be community research coordinators. And so we worked with them to be able to lead Visioning Health groups in their own regions. And we trained other women to also be the research coordinators in their own region. So instead of Doris and I and Wanda as the national knowledge keeper, doing these Visioning Health projects, I suppose, around the country, it was the women themselves who were now doing them. And so Positive Indigenous women were on our Women's Research Council. So that means that's sort of our steering committee for the project. They were the community research coordinators. And we also trained them as peer mentors. So, everybody has different capacities and is at different stages in their journeys. And so some women wanted to be and were ready to be community research coordinators, and others were more comfortable just sort of sharing their own experience. So we created those opportunities for women. And then the other thing that was different about Visioning Health 2 and Visioning Health 1 was around that second piece of being able to measure change, to detect change and to measure change. It was a mixed method model. And so we introduced what we call a VH2 wellness questionnaire that we'll talk a little bit more about a little bit later on. Is this me again?
That's you again.
Okay, sorry. So this is a little bit more about our study design. You can see on the left of the slide, we have women at the very center. And so Visioning Health was really designed around four, I'll say four principles. One is that women had to be the focus, and they had to be at the center of our model. So everything we do in Visioning Health, everything about Visioning Health is about supporting the women at the center of our model. But it's also bi-directional. We also take our guidance from the women who are at the center of that model. We also knew, because this was a national project, we worked with 8 different sites, 8 different communities, and in each of those, we wanted to build and support community and create an opportunity for women to expand their social networks and to get to know more women. And that meant that in each of those sites, we needed to have its own little team. And so we had a national team who really sort of played a coordinating function, but it was the regional teams who did all the hard work, who did the heavy lifting. And in each of those regional sites, we had the community research coordinator who was a positive Indigenous woman, and sometimes we had 2 or more. We had a local elder or national knowledge keeper, or knowledge keeper, regional knowledge keeper. We had a local community partner, and we had a local researcher. And again, the reason that we did that is because we wanted to make sure that when Visioning Health was over, as all good things come to an end, that there was still support and there was still relationships in each of those regions. And there were 2 engagement styles. And so Visioning Health is really a group research model where we bring all of the women together. And again, this is to address sort of the isolation that we know that happens, that we've been told that women share with us happens. And so we wanted to provide an opportunity for women to support each other. So this is a group research model that's grounded in culture. And there are 2 engagement styles, and it really depends on the needs of the local community. And so in some cases, we do a 5-day intensive research retreat where we bring all of the women together. In some cases, we spread that out over 10 weeks or so. And in other cases, we do a combination of those 2. And we do a combination of mixed methods. So creating art and using, grounding ourselves in culture. And so sometimes art is building bundles or ceremonial items. We use qualitative approaches, so sharing circles to begin the conversation and to get women thinking about what does it mean to be healthy? What does this mean for me? And once we've created the artwork, okay, so what does my artwork mean? But back to that assessment component, we also have the VH Wellness Questionnaire. And so this is something that we do with the women at the very beginning before we even start. We do it again at the end, and then we do it again 3-month follow-up. And that's the piece that helps us measure if there is any change in women's lives and whether or not it's sustainable. And then the culture as intervention is a really, really important piece for us. And it has emerged over time. The women have really pushed us in this direction. Visioning Health started out as really as an arts informed project. But over time, the cultural piece has really grown to become the centerpiece. And so in many cases, the art is a cultural item. As I said, maybe it's creating medicine bundles, or it's making ceremonial items, it's sharing teachings, it's participating in ceremony. And so it's that cultural piece itself that has become the intervention over time.
And these are our 8 sites across the country. We'll start in BC, and this is not in the order that that they rolled out, but I'm just going to go from west to east. So we had one site in British Columbia, which was a retreat site, a 5-day retreat site. We had one site in Alberta, which was also a 5-day retreat. We had 2 sites in Saskatchewan. And the reason why we had 2 sites there, at the time that we were pulling together this proposal, Saskatchewan was the epicenter of the HIV epidemic, and we thought it needed 2 sites there. So really, it was about creating opportunity for women on the ground there. And so we had one site in Regina and one site that we call Saskatchewan North. which was a retreat site. And Regina was a extended engagement. And then we had one site in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, which was an extended engagement over a 9-week period. And then we had 2 sites in Ontario, one site in rural remote, what's kind of designated as rural remote in Ontario, and that's in Thunder Bay. And then we had a site in Toronto, which was actually a site that was added to our 7 sites that had been funded. So we received external additional funding to do the Toronto site, which had a focus on working with women who have had lived experience of incarceration. And then our 8th site was in Quebec, and unfortunately we didn't have any sites in the Maritimes, and that's always been something that's come up in discussion. Next slide. Tracy.
Sorry, I was muted. This is just a rundown of what each VH site, whether it's a retreat or an extended engagement, looks like. So these are sort of the core components that each VH site sort of goes through, but in a slightly different sort of time period, I suppose. And so we begin with a group orientation, and this is just where we get to know each other. We introduce the process, and we introduce a particular art form that has been chosen by the community research coordinators. We do our quantitative pieces. So the VH Wellness Questionnaire that we talked about, this is what we call time 1. And we also can collect some sort of basic information about who are the co-researchers that we're engaging with. We do a sharing circle on health, culture, and gender, and we've already shared with you those questions. We spend a lot of time making art. And this is different in every site. And again, the community research coordinators choose which is the art that we'll be making. And here's some examples of different art forms that have been chosen across the 8 sites. After we are finished making the art, we do a second sharing circle on the meaning of the artwork. And so the questions that we ask of women are, tell us about your art piece. Why did you make it that way? And what does it tell us about health, culture, and gender more collectively, I suppose, as 4 positive Indigenous women. We also ask them to write a very short piece, maybe a couple of sentences that can sort of accompany the artwork if they're not available to share that with people. We do the wellness questionnaire a second time. Before we do the wellness questionnaire, we also do, missing from the slide is what we call group analysis, or group participatory analysis. And so we ask the women as a group to look at all of the artworks that they've all created and to tell us what the main themes are, what's important about these artworks, what's maybe common across most of the artworks or many of the artworks, and is there anything missing? And so this is really a sort of our first level of what we call analysis of thinking about what do these artworks have to say about our research questions. And then we do the questionnaire a second time. We do a third sharing circle that is really just designed to help us understand what worked, what women liked about the VH process, and maybe what they might like to improve if we did it again. We do a lot of celebrating, so eat really well and do some ceremony, and then 3 months later we follow up again with another wellness questionnaire. And so we do that in all 8 sites. We spend, roughly 60 hours, I think, together, but again, in different sort of formats and different layouts.
So this is just a slide about our training. So we had to train everybody. We had to train those research teams that Tracy talked about, that had the community research coordinator, the local elder, the local researcher, a peer mentor. And so we had to train all these teams. So we actually had 2 big trainings where there were 3 teams at each of the trainings. And one training was held in Quayote Lodge in Little Shuswap First Nations in BC. And the other training was held in Manitoba, Sandy Soto at the, and that's a place that some of you might be familiar with. I think the Two Spirit Gatherings uses that space, and it's both places we were out on the land. And I especially like that photo of the, you know, of the golf carts driving driving out. We were going to go medicine picking that day, and that was our transportation because we had some elders there, you know. So this is how we got around to go medicine picking with these golf carts. And I also like that photo at the bottom there. 2 women, one is teaching the other woman a song. And in the background, you could see the 3 researchers kind of respectively standing in the background. For me, this picture is very indicative of the women-centeredness of our approach in terms of, you know, privileging the voices of the women, and how respectful the researchers were whenever they were in the room with the women. And so we had these 2 big teams training for 3 teams for each of these big regional teams trainings. But we also had 2 trainings that were individual trainings with Toronto. We did training with them just as a standalone team, and also with Quebec. And the Quebec one happened last fall. And so that was a bit about our teams training. It was a 5-day teams training for the most part, and it was a lot of fun. We also had a lot of laughs, but it was also a lot of work for everybody that was there. And yeah, so yeah, it was pretty good. So
this is I believe this is me again, and this is
yeah.
just a little bit about the retreat style. But both Lindsay and Liz participated in a retreat style. I wonder if one of you want to say a little bit about what that was like, and sort of the process. How did that roll out?
Liz?
Yep. Go ahead. You're there.
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I did the Alberta site, and the retreat style we had was making capotes and drums and a fashion show, which was really fun. All those activities we did, you know, it really brought out something in me, in my spirit, that I never was able to do in a long time. Making the capotes was really meaningful. The drums especially, you know, we put a lot of hard work into it. There's a lot of meaning that went into those pieces for each and every one of us. And just being able to be ourselves and do what we felt we needed to do in those pieces. We didn't just make them for nothing. There's a story behind each piece that we made.
Mm-hmm.
Liz?
You just brought some tears to my eyes, Lindsay, because I felt the same way. I was in the Thunder Bay retreat style, I guess, too. And we made cigar boxes, and I don't know, that's not the important piece. But there was a ceremony with the welcome home ceremony.
Yeah.
Which Doris and everybody did. And it was, for me, it was like a spiritual thing. Like I had goosebumps, the hair standing on the end of whatever, standing up. I felt just like, you know, like I was like, the spirits just were taking me.
Yeah.
And I felt like just something just kind of blew life into me.
Mhm.
And I feel like every time I'm with these women, I get the same. So it's, for me, it's kind of life-saving, life-changing, and really motivated me and continues to help me, you know, move forward.
Thank you,
Awesome.
ladies.
Thank you. Hmm.
So this was the extended engagement style, and it was a 9-week extended engagement, usually in an urban setting. And same kind of, you know, art making was part of it. And so Regina, they made medicine bundles, the women there. And Toronto was also an extended engagement. They made regalia dolls and they got their spirit names. And there was a jingle dress dancer that came to give teaching about the jingle dress. And Liz, you were part of this 9-week extended engagement in Toronto. Did you want to talk
I
about
was.
that a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't really know where it was going to take me, but just kind of went with it anyways. But from all the women, when we were doing the selection, you know, process to see who was going to join our group, because we had a limited amount of women, there were some that I was just kind of worried about and didn't really want to say okay because I know them from the street or whatever, that I thought it would have been just bad news. But they surprised me. We invited them. They came in, and everybody has just, their life has just changed completely. You know, women are working, they're off drugs. Somebody got married. Just the things that have come from these things, it's just incredible. It's just amazing. I can't say enough about it.
Thank
They
you,
are
Liz.
really, really incredible. Sorry, Doris, but with these retreats and just engaging us, when you say engagement, and I see it written on there, you talk about engagement in the whole sense of that word, engagement. That's what this program allowed us to do. It gave us a voice. And I know I had a voice all this time. I just didn't know where to use it, how to use it. I didn't know that I had people listening, that people that cared. I didn't know I had people who were willing to help me heal. And that was my saving grace. And I really want to thank you ladies for everything that you've done for me. Not just for me, it was for my family too.
Oh, thank you, ladies.
You're
That's
welcome.
very powerful messages. And actually, I'm going to call on Wanda. Wanda, if you could turn your mic on. We're just going to be fluid like we always are with Visioning Health. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the culture and ceremony piece here that supports the women in this engagement.
Yeah, it's been my honor to be a part of Visioning Health 1 and 2. The one thing is that we created a national knowledge keeper in Visioning Health 2, and who knew what that was going to be? Well, we lived it. We lived the process as we were doing it. It was really important. I was a part of the working group so that, you know, and also to help with Sharp. If I couldn't go, then she would. And the ceremonies were so powerful. The changes in the women were like, you can't even put a price tag on things that happened, you know, and then finding their spirit names and finding their, you know, their clans. And I was a part of the alt. Our artist was the jingle dress dancer. And so she's the one that helped make the dolls. So right from going out the gate, when we were in British Columbia and we talked about Visioning Health too. And I was a part of that process before you even applied for money. We had to brainstorm. Tradition was there from the very beginning, you know, and we dreamt very big. And who could say that we had 9 different women elders across Canada envisioning health too. You know, there was amazing, you know, and we sweated in BC when we were there. And I was walking then, but the important part about that was that we did a sweat underground inside the Mother Earth. And because they had a lodge there that we were able to crawl into, and it was phenomenal, the things that happened and the things that we did. And so I think that one of the important things about having traditions in everything that Visioning Health did, so it never went anywhere. It was always like, oh, you think we should do that? No, yeah. And you know, no, we can't do that. It's like, okay. The respect for the elders was phenomenal. And the one other thing that, you know, I haven't heard that I'd like to talk about is our harm reduction model. You know, love. Harm reduction is love. It's about taking care of each other. It's not about being judgmental. It's about getting people the things that they need to function for the day as a part of our group that day. You know, and so we should be really proud of the fact that we did that in all the sites. And, you know, every one of the elders that we had with harm reduction, once we taught them about what it was, they were like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so it just warms my heart to know that we've created so many women that, you know, are standing up and talking about HIV. I know that Laverne, my boss, has gone on to the spirit world, would be ecstatic about how many women are involved in this movement now. Mm-hmm. Because there was a time when there wasn't any. You know, from you know, from the dream of the women's committee at CAN, that becoming a reality, you know, national, then this research study. Mm-hmm. And the thing that excites me the most is that we're going to have research about a traditional intervention, and we're going to have proof how it works. Mm-hmm. So they can't tell us anymore in the non-science world, in the science world, that what we do is not important and it doesn't change lives. Mm-hmm. So you're pioneers. I mean, you know, you guys never sleep. I must say, you and Tracy, Doris, you guys never sleep when you're together. You're always going, putting presentations together. And, you know, one of the things that happened with Visioning Health 1 is we all ended up in Washington, D.C. together. And one of the women who was a part of the Quebec group, stood up in front of all those people in the global village and disclosed her status for the first time ever in her entire life. Wow. She chooses, you know, a World AIDS conference to do it at. It was so amazing, right? That she felt so safe and loved, that she stood up there and declared her status to everybody. And it was like, did she just do that? Oh my God. Mm-hmm. You know, so there were so many moments of, I can't even say, there's so many moments of reflection, and, you know, the spirits were there, the ancestors, those who gone on before us, you know, and this is women's research done by women. So I think that it's a real model for people to look at who want to continue to do research on Indigenous women.
Mm. Oh, thank you, Wanda. Um,
Can I say
we do,
something else?
sure.
I forgot to add that in the Toronto site too was women who were incarcerated or had
Right.
been incarcerated or experienced incarceration, I should say. Can I talk about my spirit name?
Sure.
Can I say give it to me?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So Wanda gave me spirit name, which is Winter Moon. And I don't know how to say it in Ojibwe, but so when I first got my spirit name, I was disappointed. And I thought, why did she call me Winter Moon? And so I did some research. I have a tendency to harbor a lot of anger after all these years with HIV and all of the walls I've been banging my head off of. But then I realized that Winter Moon is the biggest moon of the season and is when there's a lot of light. So the hunters would go out and that's when they would get all their meat and stuff for the whole winter. So I'm not a hunter. And it really made me feel like a predator, which I'm not. So, but I think that I really, I was mad at her for giving me that name. I just couldn't figure it out. And I still struggle with it. But now I think that it's really like I am a hunter, but I'm hunting for that peace and that serenity and that wholeness and to belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's what I think my name is.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Liz. We have a beautiful young woman from BC that would like to also speak at this time. If we could you turn your camera on, Diane, so we could see your lovely face?
Just
Hi, and wait, hang on. There you go.
there you go.
Here I
Diane.
am. Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Hi.
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 Long time no see. I
Mhm.
recognize some faces and some are not showing. So, thank you for having me. And you want to say what you wanted to? What was the question? One more time.
We just wanted to kind of hear what the experience was like for you for the BC site
Right.
where you made the birch bark baskets.
Absolutely. It is a memory. It's one I don't think I could repeat. It was a good memory. It was something I can't believe that I actually was a part of. Just because it wasn't on the agenda for what I was thinking that it was going to be when I got there. Being that I'm not an artist, I do not make stickmen on paper very well. So making birch bark baskets was going to be something way out. And when I heard that, I was just about falling off my chair going, "You're kidding me. How am I going to get out of this?" Nevertheless, monkey see, monkey do. Go along with everybody, so amongst your peers. And I mean, for me, I'm not afraid to try new things. However, I didn't know that a lot of people had some basis behind them. My understanding was that a lot of people had a little bit of basis of being part of groups that were making those kind of things before, or just being part of a group that's making something. Myself, I have not, as much as I've been a part of a big family, I chose to be in another room. They did not pursue, they did pursue having me join things, However, it was a big thing to not know what I was doing and to wait for instructions and then be expected to follow them. It was a bigger deal because I had to interrupt everybody just to get the instructions right every second. I felt like I was more problem than I was anything. So it reminded me of being young again and waiting for somebody to instruct me. Nevertheless, thank you everybody for making it happen and helping me to stay in the group. I don't think I would have pursued it if I had been closer to home.
Mhm.
It was a long walk to go home if I had wanted to go home. Nevertheless, that was one way to look at it. And the other way, I found the rest of it was very powerful when it comes to spirituality. And I just got mesmerized every time that I was in a group setting and we were instructed to do certain tasks as a group or think of what we were going to say for during the week, what we were going to do. And there was a lot of thinking and a lot of connecting, and believe it or not, even though you didn't want to talk about it, you were talking about it anyway because other people did. So it kind of, you just ended up talking the same way. So besides that, it really tweaked me out, the fact that the amount of food that I ate there. And I was full of food. I was fully full. And it was a beautiful space that we were privileged enough to be at. It was a good setting that way. It really was probably the most close I've been to being a part of on my land, sort of thing. How I would see. I don't know if that helps any.
It does. Thank you, Diane, and so wonderful to see you. And Diane also invited us for, I like to call it high tea, to her house one time when we were in Vancouver. She invited us to her apartment to have tea. And we also went shopping, eh, Diane?
Yeah, yeah.
Really,
I couldn't believe
really
that
good.
you all showed up. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, we showed up
And,
at her place.
yeah, yeah. Although a lot of things were closed at the time that you came, so we went for a walk. I was going to show them where I play piano, but at the Native Health, which is not around now.
Mhm.
Asleep while I was sleeping within the last couple of months. It's back now. Hi. and the other arm I fell on to catch the other one when that was within the last week. So now I have 2 splints that I wear on my forearm and arm just to make sure that I don't lose my wrist should I fall again. I don't try to make a practice falling, but I didn't know how unbalanced I really was until I slowed down from my back surgeries. And then when I'm thinking about reminiscing back to my childhood, they would have explained me to be a hyper type person, a high energy, and you know that is true to some extent, but the body is actually, I'm realizing now that I never slowed down to find out how my body really didn't know how to balance. And I only found this out when I had to slow down because my back didn't let me go. It told me to sit down and it told me that I couldn't do things as I wanted to do. It was really engaging. It was like being segregated. It was really a bad year. I felt deprived of everything, and I could have just I can't explain it, but I'm glad I didn't pursue any worse or heavier drugs or make mistakes when it comes to using. That I was a lucky one that was able to I had some background in abusing alcohol and some heavier drugs back over the last 20 years now. So I've come a long way from that. So I was able to see what it was, and I didn't want to wreck my back any worse than it was. And the other thing was that they wouldn't do the back surgery if I didn't have a clean slate.
Mhm.
So I didn't want them pulling me out, and that really was that stood highly in my mind as being not a chance that they were not going to do that to me. I needed that surgery so bad, and I'll let you know that my back is really well.
Wow, that's good.
So it's not my back; it's just my balance. And so I walk around with a pretty classy looking cane.
Mhm.
Cane.
Okay.
It's pretty classy, though. I have to show you. And other than that, I have not unhooked from my work regarding. I do tech cafe support groups online now through the Zoom as well. Is why the only reason why I could join you is because I know something about the Zoom now, the Zoom chat. Although I'm still getting used to the buttons.
Mhm.
So we help people with tech support and those kind of things, things with their computers.
Mm.
I am not the tech savvy one. I get paid to learn as well as teach. So we're just converting to the online. So we just launched. And for now, we're just keeping it to the people that we know from the group that were involved already until we get some kind of response, or maybe not. If we don't get the response that we want, we're going to be seeing what else we can do. But I haven't really been a part of my outreach since probably since January, since I've been
Yeah.
out of commission with my back. So I, and in a lot of ways, I'm really feeling like I don't have to be on guard to hurry up and run for them. Which is a good thing too, because I have been so dedicated to just jumping up and doing without thought of anything else. That was my work. And
Now
that's all I
you
could
have to
do.
think before you jump up and do.
Now I have to find a new job.
well,
But that's okay.
Thanks,
That's
Diane.
Okay. I really like this.
Yeah, I hope you, get on that good.
Oh yeah.
Back to walking around
It's working.
and being
It's working.
mobile. Awesome.
It's working.
Thank you
I
so
look forward
much.
to having you guys come back to Vancouver.
Oh yes, we will. So thank you,
Okay.
Diane. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me, everybody.
All right.
And I really do have to cut short. I'm going to stay a few more minutes, and then I'm going to.
Okay.
So I'm going to hear a few more people here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. So can we move to the next slide, Tracy? There are other women that are online here with us, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the mixed model here. And then I'm going to call upon one of the other women from Winnipeg. So be ready, you know who you are. So in terms of, so we had those two models. We had the retreat style, which was full-on retreat. And then we had the 9-week extended engagement. And but some places wanted a mixed model. So they combined those two models. Like in Winnipeg, they had a 1.5-day orientation retreat at the beginning of their extended engagement. And Montreal did the same thing too. They had an urban retreat. And then our last day, we moved into the city. And so there were different reasons why people wanted these kind of mixed style retreat. So I'm gonna call upon Lisa. Are you on the line? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Lisa, would you could you talk, like really give us let us know what you did for that day and a half, what that felt like to be on the land and then back in the city and then going back out there again.
Well, it was our first meeting together, so it was kind of scary because we didn't know each other yet. We were just beginning to get to know each other at our retreat there. We stayed there for a day and a half, and we built prayer bundles. That's when you put a prayer and then you wrap it up in cloth, and then you just hang on to it, and your prayer will be answered. And you know what? There was quite a bit of us there, so everybody made it. We ate good.
Mm-hmm.
And we came back to Winnipeg, and then we started the meetings and stuff like that. And we actually got to know each other. You know what I mean? It was a good bonding. You know, good bonding with people that we never knew. You know what I mean? Like this was a quick bond. It wasn't like, oh, I see you once every week for 6 weeks and we got a bond.
Yeah.
This happened in a day and a half.
Wow.
Okay, because all of us have been going through it, you know, living with HIV. You know, we had our ways, you know, nobody spoke of it, but to some extent it seemed like some of them, they let it go, and they didn't say it by their mouths, but they can tell the way they acted and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like some of them were still scared and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we kind of calmed each other down, and we had a bond within that day and a half. You know, because we had so much alike. You know, we had families, we had children, we had living with HIV. You know, we had our daily routines, you know, and I sat back there for a minute and I was watching everybody work on their prayer thing, and it was so powerful, you know what I mean, because they were so into it, you know, like they had a strong belief. You know what I mean? I don't know how many other people, but for myself, I got closer to Creator, you know, and I think a lot of the women there too did too, because I was just watching them, you know, they were just making their stuff. They were just making it pretty, making it perfect, you know. So I was really happy to see that. And well, with our medicine bundles and our sweat lodge and spirit names, it didn't end there. You know, when Visioning Health was over for us, it didn't stop there, because Chiwas of Winnipeg stepped in and they said, let's make some medicine bundle blankets. And that's what we did. We're just waiting to feast on them. You know, what you guys began in Winnipeg, it's not stopping there. It's going further and further and further, because everybody's listening, everybody's watching, you know what I mean? And they're like, hey, I would like to help you, you know? And I got some more stuff to put in my medicine bundle, you know, like I made medicine bags. I made little ribbon bags and stuff like that, and I put it in my bundle because that's me. That's my time of healing, you know, and I'm showing off what is healing me. You know what I mean? And I thank Creator a lot, you know, for giving us women the time together. And with you, Doris, we had a wonderful time, you know, and I hope it doesn't stop there, because I know in Winnipeg here it hasn't stopped. There's other organizations that would like to hop in and help us build, you know, on our medicine bundles, which I'm very happy and I'm very satisfied, you know. At least we're being heard here in Winnipeg, you know.
Yeah,
so I thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. That's
Thank
really
you.
powerful. What you talk about, like I think the medicine is in motion.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. That medicine is working, so it's
Yeah.
in motion. It's not stopping. So I think it will continue to support you and all the other women in Winnipeg that were part of Visioning Health in Winnipeg. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
and we're still all friends now. We're all friends. We go for coffee. We go for barbecues. We have drumming groups, and it hasn't stopped. You know, like ever since that Visioning Health 2 group came up, everybody's still together here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Good to know.
Okay, thank you. That was great to hear from the ladies and Wanda, our national knowledge keeper. We're gonna kind of try and roll through the next slides. So this is just about demographics here.
I don't think there's much we need to say about this.
Yeah,
It's just almost 70 women across the country, and this is just sort of a quick snapshot of who they said they were. But I think the more importantly, we've heard from many of them today, and that's like the more important thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So this was Tracy. You can do the quant stuff.
I always get the fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, she always gets the fun stuff.
So this is just a little bit about measuring that change. Again, going back to the beginning of the presentation, where the women asked us to provide evidence that it worked, right? And so we worked with them to develop what we call the wellness questionnaire, and it had 3 sort of sections. One was about connectedness, and so the degree to which women felt connected to a whole bunch of things you can see listed here. So connected to self, to peers, to culture, to creator, etc. And so we had a series of questions around connectedness. We also had a series of questions around self-determination or mastery. And so, really measuring or, trying to get at the degree to which women felt like they had control over their lives and they had the ability to handle what life kind of threw at them. And then the third category was questions around social support. So how supported did they feel in a variety of ways? And so we worked with the women from Visioning Health 1 and the community partners to create this questionnaire. Here's what we found. And so in addition, to the qualitative, to the women's stories, which are really the heart of Visioning Health, is giving women the opportunity to tell their own stories. What we found with the wellness questionnaire is that we were actually able to measure that change. And so this is the results of 59 of the 67 women. And the numbers in red are what we call statistically significant. And so a really sort of easy way for me to understand what statistically significant means is that there is very, very little chance that this change could be by accident. And so the numbers in red show us that we have a great deal of confidence that the change that we are seeing is real and sustainable. And so when we look at the questions around connectedness, we see between time 1 at the beginning of VH and 3 months following that there was a positive change. The women reported a positive change in how connected they feel overall. And then the categories in red on the left are the specific places that they felt more connected. So they felt more connected to themselves, to their peers, to the HIV community, to culture, creator, and to the land. So that was really exciting for us to actually to be able to see and to measure that change. Here's some qualitative examples of what the women said in terms of those each of those categories. So, I thought I was the only one. Now I know that I'm not, and that culture really changed me. And then here's the same thing for self-determination. So again, we see that that Visioning Health did facilitate positive change in women's lives. And so Visioning Health helped them feel like they had more control over their own lives. And again, same thing in terms of social support. And so we see that Visioning Health, being a co-researcher in Visioning Health, did increase the amount of social support that women felt like they had in their lives. And that's from the beginning of Visioning Health until 3 months post Visioning Health. And so And so I think that's really all we wanted to say about that. But it's really, I think, exciting for us to be able to see that change, and hopefully it's going to help to to bring visioning health to more women.
Can we move to the next slide now, Tracy? So this one was on evaluation. We had an evaluation component as well as part of our engagement with the women, and it was overwhelmingly positive. Like over the course of the entire visioning health journey, it's always been kind of very positive. And I really believe it's because we commit. When we're heading out the gate with this research study and our engagement with women, we committed to that extended time to spend with women, as opposed to what we had traditionally gotten used to was kind of that focus group approach or helicopter research, where you come in, ask a bunch of questions, hand out gift cards, and then leave, and then the women never see or hear anything about. They're not fully in. That's not really engagement, I don't think. That's more about getting information out of the women, and who benefits from that. So we've had really positive evaluations throughout the entire time that we've engaged with women in visioning health. And so the next slide. Okay, so I'm gonna, so these are, earlier on I had said when, this is what health looks like for HIV positive Indigenous women. This is the language that emerges when research is, when you pay attention to the way that you do research. This is the language that the women use. These are their own words. And I'm going to ask Lindsay actually she found the slide very powerful in comparison to the other one that was more all the deficit words. Lindsay, is there anything you'd like to say about this slide?
Yeah, this slide, I can relate to this slide. I know this slide, these words are who I am. These words are what I have to tell myself every day. And the thing about it is, being an Indigenous woman living with this condition is tough. But when you think about it, being born an Indigenous woman in itself, you know, the odds were stacked against us since we were born. And the way I feel about these words, I can see a lot of my grandmothers in these words, my mom, my sisters, and hopefully I'm instilling these into my daughter. And these are the type of words that I want to ripple effect from my legacy. Those other ones, I don't want them in my life. I don't need them in my life. I know what they do. I know what they've been doing to my life, and I've had enough. Therefore, I don't even pay attention to those kinds of words anymore. It's these that I focus on every day now, since we had the retreat. You know, that brought me back life, and whatever was taken from me since I found out that I, you know, living with this condition, I got some of it back. And I don't even know how to put it in words, because it was a lot that's been missing from my spirit. And I used to cry, you know, thinking about those other words on that other slide. I used to call myself those every day, and it made me cry. But these days, reading this type of, you know, this slide right here in front of us, and knowing that's the truth, and I don't need to cry no more. I don't cry no more because I know it's the truth. And yeah, that's what this means to me. These are the kinds of words that I like to see and I like to hear, and these are the types of words I've been telling myself since I came out of the retreat. Yeah.
Thank you, Miigwech, Lindsay. Very powerful. So now we're gonna move into, like, we're gonna hear more from the women. When we met the 2 times to prepare for this session, we really wanted to hear personal perspectives from each of the women. So who would like to go first? So the questions are up there for you. You can answer any one of them if you want. And you'll also notice, Lindsay, that's your narrative for your Kapot
Yeah.
drum. I put it on this slide just
I
to
see.
help jog your memory a little bit as well. And who wants to go first to answer? You can answer one question if you like, just so we're mindful of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Lindsay or Liz?
Liz, go ahead, sister.
Who else? Okay, so I think I'm just going to speak to what is the biggest and most significant takeaway for me from Visioning Health is that I feel stronger, I feel strengthened, I feel power from all of you. I'm motivated. I've got my whatever I lost, I got it back. I still a struggle, but it's back, and it's just so powerful to see this. I don't say infecting or injecting this into the community. So you see other women, you know, like moving on and being strong and being leaders in their own communities, and that's just so such a gift for me to see things like that. It means more than anything. So I think that for me, Visioning Health is so much. That I just I can't thank anybody or can't thank you enough for taking my life. I also just want to say too that I'm finished. I'm almost finished. You want me to be? Go ahead. I'm going to stop.
No, I was going to say thank Creator. Don't thank us.
Yeah.
Oh well, thank Creator too. I always thank Creator, but yes, you have to see guys too.
Yeah.
I just see you working so hard all the time. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but when I'm asked to write stuff, I can't shut it off. There's just so much stuff that I feel like I want to say, you know, to get it out for one, and for two, it's just, I think it's a healing process for me, but hoping that it will touch somebody else and make their life better. But I just, it's almost torture for me to have to think about this stuff because it doesn't stop. You know, like the whole night I'll be up writing, and I get nowhere. So there's so much I want to say, and I know I have to organize it, but I'm getting there, you know, a day at a time kind of thing.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Visioning Health.
Yeah. Lindsay?
Yeah. So I'll answer, how did your Visioning Health research experience impact your life? I think I said a lot already. For one thing, it gave me a voice that I could use in a different way on a different platform. I always wondered growing up, you know, what was I gonna be? What was I gonna do? And now I know, you know. I think I told you guys this at the retreat. Looking back, when I had a dream 1 year before this happened, before I started living with this condition, that you know I was going to live with this condition, and that was I should have prepared myself. I believe that was the Creator's way of telling me to prepare myself for this journey, and I didn't. because you think when you have that type of dream and you think it's just a dream, but it wasn't just a dream, you know? And I considered myself low risk, but low risk doesn't mean no risk, you know?
Yeah.
There's always a risk, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you look like. So I kept putting that dream in the back of my head, thinking it was never gonna happen to me, but and Creator warned me. I don't think it was a warning, but he told me, prepare yourself for this, and I didn't. And I believe that if I did take that dream seriously, I wouldn't have had to go to the bottom of the barrel where I allowed myself to go. And I had to learn the hard way. And I crawled up out of that that bucket, and Visioning Health helped me do that. And it just changed basically, let me say, so far 70% of my life, because I allowed myself to have to feel love again, to allow somebody to love me. I never did love myself, and I pushed love away. I pushed everybody away, my family, everybody. And they wondered why, but they didn't know. And I allowed Visioning Health to just open everything, open up new doors, and I got married since the retreat because I allowed somebody to hear my story, and I allowed somebody to fully accept me, which they did. Once you accept yourself, others will too. And it's been really good for me. It changed a lot from my life.
Lindsay. I actually remember when I first met Lindsay, because I helped out with the recruitment for Alberta, and this amazing woman, I heard that she was trying to talk to somebody because she really wanted to go to this thing. She didn't even know what it was. So I finally got her on the phone, and she says, "Oh, I so need to go to this," she says to me. And "I'm so glad you called," she said. And when she found out there was going to be art there, she says, "You know what? I'm painting right now. I'm learning how to paint." And while you were sitting vigil with your sister.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what an amazing woman. I can't wait to meet this woman. And she was just as powerful as can be when I met her finally. So thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Doris. That means a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you. So we have another Visioning Health woman here, and that's online with us, and she's a queen. Well, we're all queens, right? So I'd like to call upon her. Queen Elizabeth, are you here? Do you want to share some of your perspectives? Maybe answer one of these questions here. But you've had quite the journey with Visioning Health.
Technical problems.
Okay.
I was truly amazed at hearing what this project has done across Canada. And with our first project that started in BC, it was like, oh my God, this is actually, we were quite welcome in the community that we were in. And at first we tried to get to Vancouver Island, but that didn't work out. And I think the Creator wanted us to be at the location we were at. And we were welcomed, and I felt that there was that was made possible by the Creator, and our group has grown across Canada, and that's truly amazing. And you know, this project that's helped me to see a lot of things around how this project is helping me heal. And thank you, and I really am appreciative of our connections with each other. And I think my cat is trying to say something as well, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. And I appreciate what we've gone through, and thank you very much, and for the presentation. That was absolutely fulfilling for myself, because I heard from other women from across Canada, which is really amazing.
Thank you, Queen Elizabeth. She is the queen of the Visioning Health Study. I just love her.
Wave
So,
at us.
You got to do the royal
Your
wave.
special wave.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. So I just want to kind of punctuate what she just said and what Wanda said earlier. It's really this, we've managed to pull women together and build this community through research. And at one time when I was the Aboriginal Women and Leadership Coordinator with the Canadian Aboriginal AIDS Network, I mean, we had a community, but this has seemed to build that community, like a national community of women. And we managed to do that through research. And I think that's so awesome. So thank you for sharing your perspectives. And so I'm really conscious of the time. And so there are a few more slides, but I do want maybe Wanda to, Wanda's on the next slide. Can we move to the next slide? And I'd like to hear maybe, Wanda, if you could reflect back on what you heard the women say, that would be really wonderful.
Sure. I mean, I connected with so many women and their hearts that were just amazing. It wasn't matter what we were doing. You know, whatever it was considered to be a cultural activity. For them, whatever that might be, believing in themselves was a cultural activity. You know, knowing that the Creator doesn't make garbage. You know, the only people who do that is human beings. And so we're not garbage, you know, and that our teachings are there for a reason. You know, they teach us to believe in ourselves and to be able to feel unique. And so I tell my kids at SLAPS, which is a youth detention center with 12 to 18-year-olds, when I have them in a group, and I still do because I do a Zoom or something for them. And I ask them, you know what? You identified to me as an Indigenous person, Turtle Island. You know how special you are? One of your relatives never left here. This is the land that the Creator placed us in. And we're still here because of that one relative. You might not know the person's name, you might, but that's your connection. And we work with so many people who are displaced, and that means that they didn't know, you know, where there were 60 scoops, they were adopted. So they were busy trying to find themselves on top of with the diagnosis of HIV. And I just have to say that we did a gathering at Renee was pregnant for her second child, I think. And we were at the Ramada Inn in Toronto, and it was the very first women's gathering that we had, and that Can had, and it had a box of chocolates or something. I can't remember the theme, but it did a box of chocolates. And the women who were there are many of them who are still involved in visioning health. But at that point, someone was diagnosed, didn't know that they could have any children. They thought their life was over. She was just a young woman who went on to have 2 babies because she was so informed by all of the women who were around her. And it's the one thing that they connected over. Nobody was left alone. Everyone looked after each other. Nobody was ostracized for any reason. It was all about love and being together, and how amazing. So, as a national knowledge keeper, I was always vigilant to keep things up. Anyway, it's like, but we had the Holy Freakness from Alberta, which, is a 70-some-odd-year-old woman who used to be a nun. We had one male. The women wanted to have him as their elder, and he's such a gentle soul. That brought those women together, and that it's a healthy man, right? And a beautiful man. And there was a theme, if we could say, that all across Canada, no matter where we were, in BC or Montreal or wherever it might be, there was always a theme of we take care of each other. They looked for each other. They wondered where everybody went. Visioning Health would buy lots of really good food. And I know that there was sometimes when I said to Tracy, I have to tell the women they can't have seconds until everybody's eaten. And she goes, no, we just order more food. Like, oh, okay, then we got to order more food.
Mm-hmm.
They would take the food home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was blown away by one of the, God bless her soul, she's gone now, but, by the 10th of the month, there was no bread and butter. Visioning Health where they would come and we would get breakfast, which was, muffins and croissants and toast and bagels and, whatever it is.
All that shishi food, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
they would leave with their bags full, their hearts full, their minds in a happy space.
Yeah.
And that's what counts, right? And thank you guys so much for the fact that, it's like, no, just buy more food. Like, oh, okay. All right, that sounds like a solution. There was never nothing taken away from the women.
Mm-hmm.
And that whatever decisions were made financially, the project, none of it was taken away from the women's perspective or from what they were going to do or what was going to happen to them. And I can't believe we did it. It's 4 years is up already.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What am I going to do? What are we going to do next? I mean, this has been part of our lives for 10 years, right? We have to do something. But how do we beat visioning Health too? So thank you for allowing me to be a part of your dream, Doris and Tracy. And it has been, the women are amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aha, miigwech.
Hi.
Okay, so this is a really good conversation we've been having. We have some slides like Tracy, maybe you could take us through these slides really quickly up to the slide with the heart in it. I'm not
Sure,
going to say
yes.
what's in it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So these are really just some things that we didn't necessarily plan for, but they came out of the visioning health process that we're really proud of, really. And so one is that as the women were talking about, we have this national network of positive Indigenous women. And who can talk to each other, who can support each other, and that we need to continue to support, and we need to continue to look for ways and venues to facilitate that connection. And the women's gathering that we're going to have is one way. But we can have a conversation, I hope, about maybe alternate ways that we can continue to do that. We have a cadre of national knowledge carriers that Wanda was talking about. We have 9 or 10 or 11 actually knowledge carriers across the country now who have worked with positive Indigenous women in a good way, and that we know we can count on to continue to do that. In most cases, the women are more connected locally to services, and we've heard that from some of the women. I think Lisa in particular, talked about how it hasn't stopped. We helped to build a team locally in Winnipeg, and they are carrying on that work, and that's fantastic. That's really what we had hoped to do. Another, as Liz has talked about and others have talked about, visioning health really became a stepping stone for many women to achieve other goals in their lives. Some of those would have been work goals. They've got jobs, or they've retrained, or maybe life, or maybe just other life goals. Lindsay talked about getting married, and that's how could you plan for that, right? That's amazing. And then just some of the challenges, just basic sort of logistic recruitment challenges, and sort of administrative challenges that we've had, and probably one of our biggest ongoing challenges is there are limited mechanisms to provide that ongoing support and engagement of co-researchers. So, as Wanda mentioned, what's next? We really need to think about what's next, because we've created a little bit of an expectation, but not in a negative way, right? There are many people out there who want to be engaged, and so now we just need to find ways to continue to do that. And then, learnings to date, our biggest learning to date, I think, is that, and this is not new and it should not be earth-shattering, but sometimes it is. What we've learned is that when you create opportunities for women to come together and to talk to each other and to support each other, and co-create a safe space, provide the ceremony that they ask for, help them, help them see their own strengths, is that transformation happens. And so this isn't about us. This isn't about Doris and I, or Doris and I and Wanda, or the Visioning Health team at all. It's about just creating a space and an opportunity for women to get together and to do what they need to do. And then the other learning to date is that we have learned through the wellness questionnaires, and we now have evidence that Visioning Health works. When you provide those opportunities, a change happens, shift happens, as they say, and it happens in fantastic ways. And so that's it for me.
Okay, so this is our almost final slide, and we've used this title several times because I love this title. It's actually what Liz said after a coming home ceremony. She turned to Tracy, and she talked about that earlier. She turned to Tracy and asked her this question: do I look taller? I feel taller. I really believe this captures the spirit of Visioning Health. it's about those spaces, like what Tracy just talked about, where change shifts happen and all of that. So we're 6 minutes away. Liz, did you want to say something about this?
I just get emotional. I can't. Yeah,
Okay.
I just feel it's given me so much. Like I literally for I don't know 30 years was just a breathing. You know, I gave my house away, dropped my business. My whole life was gone. Like, forget it. I had no desire really. Not no desire, but I felt like dirty. I didn't feel like I was going to be accepted as I am. Anyway. And I think being picked, prodded, pulled, and you know, to different parts of research where there was physical stuff that were taking samples, like tissue samples and stuff. I let them have more. Anything else that
Liz, yeah. You feel we have 4 minutes for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Were there any questions that were put in the chat? There's one here from one of the people on watching all of this, taking it all in. It says, it is beautiful to hear your stories of sharing and supporting each other and of being able to thrive in the world. Thank you. It's an honor to hear your stories. And that's from Jane Newfield. Are there any questions? Oh, one of the pieces that under the demographics, we should have talked a little bit about the composition, the diversity of the women. And we had quite a diverse community of women that came to Visioning Health. We had trans women. We had one man be part of Visioning Health in one of our sites. I don't really consider he's too spirited, so so I went up to him and he was at the site, and I said, you know what? I'm so glad you're here, and that you're honoring that female side of you by being here. Welcome.
Yeah.
I said to him, because I think he was feeling a little, oh, maybe I shouldn't be here. That kind of, he kind of had that kind of energy, and he might have even said it. So I went up to him privately and let him know, I'm so glad you're here. And so we had a diverse, the broadest spectrum of people who identified as women being part of Visioning Health. And I know we raced through the demographics there, but I just wanted to kind of mention that. So if there, yes?
So there's one question about art, about the art that we created. So were there collaborative art pieces, or were they more individual pieces that that groups created?
Well, I believe all art is a collaborative because you're collaborating with creator in this kind of process, in these sacred spaces. And they were individual, but also collaborative, I believe, because, for example, the women that made their medicine bundles in 2 sites, those are bundles that are that were put together, and I really believe it's a collaborative. All of it actually is a collaborative because creators in the room and the ancestors are in the room. Yeah. You could feel them when you're in that creative process, and because creation is about drawing from within your own self, but also the ancestors are helping you through that process. And so I guess my answer would be collaborative.
Definitely.
Mhm. Okay, so can we go to our closing slide? And I'm gonna call upon Wanda to do our closing prayer.
Well, as we- oh, am I still on mute? No. Okay. Sometimes when you're doing this Zoom stuff and it's like you're talking to yourself or a basket. I'm talking to a basket. It's all good. So give you thanks to Creator for gathering us all together for this time. I want to thank you all for giving us the most wonderful gift that you could give and never take back. And that's all the time that we have spent together. Not the women, the team, you know, we did it. And it's time to celebrate, as they would say, again. And so, Creator, watch over us as we travel from this time and space. Watch over the women who participated in that study, that we would never want to leave anybody hurt or leave anybody behind. Help ourselves, Creator, to understand what our limits are. Help us to look after each other. Help us to continue to laugh as we gather. And so, thanks for your courage. And let's continue to change the world one woman at a time. Miigwech.
Oh,
Hey.
Thanks, Wanda.
miigwech.
That was beautiful.
Good.
Okay, thank you everybody for, Harvey just said thank you for letting me hear your stories. Protect our women. Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everybody for hanging in with us for these 2 hours. I wish we'd had more time for more questions, but we will meet again down the road here and there. And I hope that you're all keeping safe. Miigwech. Bye-bye.
Hi. Bye.
Bye. Tracy, can you call me? Yeah.
Doris, can you call me?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so it goes.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye, all. Thanks so much.